Welcome back, everybody. I'm sure everybody's seeing a black screen, and now they see me, the Golden Inquisitor. Uh, yeah. So let's see. So no video today. Um, I wasn't really feeling anything really. Um, schedule at work. I got a lot of things going on. Schedule changes. Um, so like, I'll just, I'll stream and play some Elden Ring and just see what happens. It's a very casual Friday lore stream. Ate some McDonald's, got some new honey, those hot honey wraps, which are delicious, by the way, for McDonald's. For McDonald's. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, so what? Let's see. What's is there a goal for today? No. We are going to be looking at Fair Missoula once again, as always, because Fair Missoula is an amazing place, an amazing, you know, interesting and dubious place. It boggles the mind because of all the number of civilizations that are here that are built upon one another, and then it being in the middle of this catastrophe, right? Where it's now floating in the sky, right? It's floating in the sky in the magical fog of that surrounds the lands between. And that is going to be today's discussion. Today on Lore Talk. Hold on. Let me go turn on the AC. It's hot in Texas today. All right. So AC's on. Let's hope it cools off. Let's hope it cools off because that'd be nice. What else? What else? What else? Um, let's see. All right, so let's begin. Is my controller plugged up? It is plugged up. It is not turned on. Let's turn it on. Okay, so in the Inquisition Discord, we've we've been discussing for a few nights now. The Hey, what's up, as Amy? What's up? So let's see what else. Okay, where was I? So we've been discussing in the Discord about the nature of the ancient dragons and the nature of the ancient dragons, and if there are multiple generations of these dragons. What is Iran? Iran, Iraq. I got married. This is not a political stream, bro. Keep your politics over there where you are, wherever you are. You know what I'm saying? Keep your Is it in Asia? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, bro. Sorry. Asia needs to worry about Asia. I worry about Elden Ring. Nobody over there cares about me, I tell you what. So that's it, man. All right, so let's see. So the nature of the ancient dragons here. we've been discussing to see if there is multiple generations, if they could be handmade, made, or I think Boss had talked about them being golems. Constructs made by human hands, right? So the thing is that there's something fishy about them, but we don't know just yet. But we can perhaps deduce deduce something. The hints of what they are on them themselves, right? Like maybe their sex, probably, if they're real, they're not the originals, what generation they are they infected by the two fingers? um it's things like that. I'm from Caled, bro. The Caled Wilds. What's up, Solif Deuce? I don't know what that says. What's up, man? So that's gonna be, and, and what's an interesting thing is I find interesting about these ancient dragons is that they 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 have this hair on them. It's the hair that kind of freaks me out. It doesn't freak me out, but it's something that tells me that there's something inorganic about these creatures, right? If we look at the other ancient dragons, the ones that are not Kaylee, Kalid. It's in the southern part of the continent. Uh, so it's the hair on the back of them, right? And I'll show you why this hair it's bothersome. And we were discussing it the other night. See, this hair doesn't look natural. Of course, it doesn't look natural. It's a video game, right? But it doesn't look like it belongs here. You're from the Windmill Village. I'm hiding from the cannibals outside. Says Soleil. Dude, you gotta be careful with the Windmill Village cannibals, man. They'll eat you. Oops, my game crashed, but that's okay. I'll restart it. They'll uh they'll eat you alive, bro. You gotta be careful with cannibals. My computer's been crashing because I have a faulty memory. Not in my head, but inside. And you can't buy memory sticks anymore because they're so damn expensive. Everybody, AI companies are buying up the all the memory sticks, man. Hey, man, yeah. Hey, Durit, I was just streaming because I got nothing else to do, and I wasn't gonna put out a lore video out today, so I was just chilling. I was just chilling. You know what I mean? Dude, because normally I put out a lore video on Fridays, but I wasn't feeling it today. I had some personal things and yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stream and free up my evening so I can watch Jackal stream tonight. Oh, but I was discussing the ancient dragons, And a theory that we had on the Discord, or we were throwing around on the Discord. All right, so let me begin once again. Once again. All right, the ancient dragons. So in a discussion I was having with the Lord of the Water boss and Moonlight, Serious Moonlight, we were discussing the dragons, the ancient dragons, and towards the end of the discussion, I've come to believe that the ancient dragons, and the ones that we see here, are not the real ancient dragons. And I know that Jack is a Mimic had spoken about it before when he was a guest, I think the other weekend or last Saturday, and he was saying that he believes, I think if I remember correctly, that he believes they're mimics. Well, I don't believe that they're mimics in the sense that they are like silver tier mimics or whatever made by the Nox, right? Or a construct of, you know, a silver tier and a shaman / Newman. I am now, because Boss had told me, and now with thinking critically of it, I believe now that these here are golems. The ancient dragons. Oh, thank you, Dor. Hey, you're on Greyjoy. Hey, man, you're on. How you doing? The ancient rock heart. All right, so the ancient rock heart tells you about like I believe it tells you about its ancient form of dragon communion or something like that, right? The last thing the partakers saw with human eyes was a sunset. It was faded colors, tarnished, a remote thing from eternity, right? Its heart will transform the temporary boost, dragon communion, blah blah blah. Disrupt one's flesh to consume the heart. The original form of dragon communion, right? The original form of dragon communion is eating the hearts, right? and they still do that. So, and I'm not sure if you're trying to hint towards the wording here, the original form, or that the human's eyes, because sure, when you eat the heart, the original form of dragon communion, the person becomes that half dragon man, right? And in modern dragon communion, it takes up to like 3 or more hearts for it to start having a physical effect on you, right? Oh, it's in the south, bro. Southern part of the continent. Um, so where was I? Yeah, so but where was it? Okay, so with that, I think the communion form that we see here with the rock heart and with modern day dragon communion, I think that's what that's discussing. These things here before us, this construct, this golem. Now that I think about it, this thing is more of a golem than anything else. It's made by the hands of somebody. I don't think it's real. And if it is real, then it is infected by the aliens from outer space. And the reason I say it's infected by the aliens from outer space is because what everybody knows, right? They know about the dragon, the finger crowns on the back of the skull. You either get the 2 or you get the 8, right? And where do we know fingers come from? They come from Mater. Mater has, when she releases 2 finger worms that infect everything and turn into fingers, and she also releases finger creepers. So I'm leaning that way, but I'm also leaning in the direction that these things are also constructs. They're like golems because you can't eat these hearts. When you kill these dragons, there's no heart for you to eat, right? And if there's no dragon, there's no heart for you to eat. That means it was never really alive, right? It says it turns you into an ancient dragon, which might imply humans turned into ancient dragons. Let me double check. Let me double check. Okay, let's see. Heart consumed in the ancient original form of dragon communion. While disrobed, it turns one flesh into an ancient dragon. Okay. All right. So, but we know that isn't true, right? It's very reminiscent to an ancient dragon. It's but it's not a ancient dragon. You know, it's a it's close to it. And if you see, and if it's close to it, sure, there's remnants, right? You could call yourself an ancient dragon here, but that doesn't mean you are the ancient dragons. But this ancient dragon is not this ancient dragon. This ancient dragon is not the real ancient one in front of us. This one is because this one, if you look at this one, just by comparison, right? This dragon is a real ancient dragon, or this form represents a real ancient dragon, minus, it's because it's got the horn on top. It doesn't have the finger crown. Where can I get to a good location to manipulate the camera? Right? Is there hair? No hair. So it's not maybe, but oh look, there is hair. But is that hair our hair from being human, or is it hair from a two-finger infection? That's interesting. But I would still say that this, even though it says ancient dragon, it's a more of a figurative language instead of a literal language, because we don't have wings, we don't have a tail, we don't have uh anything else that makes us into a dragon, except that we are now a dragon man, right? It says it turns you into an ancient dragon, which might imply humans turned into ancient dragons. I like the ancient dragons we know now could have been people. Maybe they could have been people, but I think they're. I don't think these dragons here are real because they don't drop any hearts, right? And if they don't drop any hearts, they were never real. So they're constructs. They're like golems. They're, yeah, they're not. These aren't real ancient dragons because we know what Placidosax looks like. Placidosax, drakes, and everything. They have horns on the tip of their nose. If we look at the dragons that are on the wall, let's see if I can get a good look of dragon on the wall. The dead ones that make up the ground around here. If we can get a good look at them. All right. So if we get a good look, if we can get a fairly good look right here, I will use the cursor here. It has the front horn, no finger scales, and no hair. And also these wings are also not like the wings we saw on the other dragon, right? So these dragons are the real ancient dragons, and the ones that we see on the other side are not. And I don't even think they're dragon communion dragons because they don't have any hearts. These dragons that we see here that make up this wall look more like us. So we look like the ancient dragons. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the deal is. If I could start a new game and go look at like Florsax, Lanciax, not Florsax, Lanciax, Lich Dragon, Fortisax, and look at them when we fight them, and see if they are reminiscent to the dragons that we see here, to the active ones. Are, or do they look different from the dragons that are living here? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I think ancient just refers to the stone scales as opposed to feathers. Perhaps. What makes rock heart transformation different from priestess heart? You're on Greyjoy. Well, the difference is that the rock heart boosts dragon communion, and the priestess boosts dragon cult. So dragon communion, and dragon cult. So the rock heart represents a time when the dragons and dragon communion, the church of the southern part of the continent, right, was very very active and probably starting to flourish since they have two large churches. And then the war started, so dragon communion fell out. And then I would say that the priestess heart right here represents when the dragons made a pact with the Earth Tree civilization and started the dragon cult with Godwyn as its leader, most likely. Do you think the golems in the nameless eternal city are related to ancient dragons? Maybe the golems in the. Are you talking about the dragonkin soldiers? Perhaps. The Nox are probably trying to steal that, or borrow, or replicate what was being done here in Farum Azula. Yeah, I would say they were trying to do that. Like made by the same creator, made by the same intentions to have a dragon army or something to either to control the population with. Boss write up about different dragons last night was pretty solid. It was. He if Boss ever starts a YouTube channel, he's Vadi, Smotown, me, everybody might as well just hang it up because Boss is gonna just take over. I'm telling you, Boss is he's out there thinking, and that makes him dangerous. Cayman, what's up? Welcome back, man. I just noticed that it was you. Hey, I don't think any ancient dragon hearts drop. I know Cinesax and Lanciax don't. No, none of them do. Especially when you kill the dragons up here, they don't drop anything either. Hold on, I can kill one real quick. Druid says 2 fingers and the finger crowns. Oh, hold on. Man, let me kill myself real quick so I can get rid of this stupid form. Whee! Uh-oh. Are y'all gonna get a face reveal? Dang. Face reveal. Nope. Nice. All right, let's see. Let's see. Let's go kill an ancient dragon real quick. A supposed ancient dragon. Whoops. All right, let's see what else. 2 things. The finger crowns on the dragon reminds me of the finger fungi we found in the finger ruins. Two. What if the dragons and the finger crowns were fingers and not people? Hey, that's entirely possible too. And I like that idea. I am just on a hill right now that I would die on, saying that the ancient dragons that we see alive today up here in Farum Azula are not real. They're not the original. They're not the real, quotes, real ancient dragons. Get out of the way. I'm busy. All right. All right. Let's see. The hair and decay look on Placidus reminds me of those fingers on top of the towers. Yes. Yes. Man, I wish I might have to start a new. I might start a new game today, just just so we can lore through everything once again. Kill these guys real quick. All right, here we go. So like once again, like the pattern of the wings being red, black, or not red, white, black, or white, gray, white, gray, white, gray. That that's very reminiscent of the pattern that we see on the side of the walls. You know what I mean? Like there, you know, white, gray, white, gray, white, gray, white, gray, white, gray. Saying that, so that to me also tells me that it's a construct. This is like a golem or something. Probably when the Pharaoh Missoula was worshiping the fingers. That's probably why they made the dragons with the finger crowns. All right, let's kill this one and verify that it does not drop a heart. Oop. Nothing. Nothing. Just gravel stone. And what is the idea for gravelstone? Such compound stones found in lands once beset by ancient dragons are said to be scales of those very beasts. Right? And if they're just stone, right? If the real dragons are dead and all that's left are these stones, and modern memory only knows that these golems that we see, these golems that are made of stone, are dragons. Think about it. If all you've ever known is stone dragons, these golems, that's all you ever think about. That's all that it is. And and that would explain why when we come to Lindell the very first time, why Grand Sax is still here, frozen in a pose, head up, because he was never technically alive. He kind of just ran out of juice. His spirit or whatever was powering him may have ran out. Godwin may have killed it or pulled it out or whatever. And so it's just a husk waiting for a vessel or a spirit to reanimate it again. Because the wing pattern once again. Let's see. He's got the finger crown. So yeah, this was during his he was made perhaps when, the Pharaoh Missoula was worshiping the two fingers. When Metir may have been the god that fled. Perhaps. I don't know. Let's see. Soleil, I mean the golems that breathe fire on the branches near Godwin's corpse. Oh yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, they're probably related. If I ever repeat something you've covered, blame it on me being at work and chatting. Hey, bro, don't worry about it. Don't I repeat myself because I'm old. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. Metafactual, welcome back, bro. Hey, Meta, I'm not sure if you're in the Inquisition Discord, but there was somebody looking for you there, wanting to discuss a whatchamacallit, a theory. I guess you were working out with them in the chat the other night. I'm just letting you know. They don't want you to eat the ancient dragons, do they? They want you to hunt Baal and his lesser dragon wyverns. Well, they would, yeah. And by they, I suppose you mean FromSoft, or do you mean the ancient dragons themselves? I would say um, both. You're on Greyjoy. He says, so you think all the real dragons died in the ancient dragon war? I would say so. I would say so. They all of them, because if probably a majority of them, if not all of them, right? Because of the ancient dragons who ruled the prehistoric era before the air tree would protect the Lord as a wall of living rock. If we see them in that rock thing, in the rocks in the land between them, who knows how many of them? If too many of them became that rock, that land behind them, plus you had the war against the drakes, plus then you had the war against the Erd tree. They must have been reinforcing their numbers with the golem dragons, the finger dragons, the fake ones, to boost their numbers. Because if you're fighting wars on two fronts, you're not going to win. You're not going to win unless you're the United States. But I'm just saying, it's a hard way to win a war on two fronts, especially when you're fighting someone like the Erd tree civilization, which was extremely powerful. Dweebs agrees on Mater. Good time. You streaming at this time? Nosto, welcome back, man. Yeah, I didn't want to. I wasn't releasing a video today, so I'm like, I'll just stream. I got nothing else going on, and I didn't want to stream during Jackal streaming time. Give him some respect. You know what I'm saying? Put some respect on his name. Euron says, in Dark Souls, the ancient dragons were made of stone too. I think, though, yes, they were made of stone. But though those were made of stone, does not mean that we can't make it a 1-to-1 comparison. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm going to say. Yes, the Dark Souls series is a parallel timeline to probably to Elden Ring because of Night Rain. We know they exist in the same shared universe, but I don't think it's still 1-to-1. Let's see. You're welcome, Meta. Oh, see what's came in. There you go. Look, y'all can be friends. Bringing people together. The Elden Ring Ray. Nossel says, I wonder why Godric called the lesser dragons a kindred spirit. Meanwhile, the giant ancient dragon is clearly more royalty. Maybe it was just referring to the personality of the dragons. I would say, well, in Godric's ideal, Nossel, I would say, because he called it a kindred spirit, right? The whole idea that the dragons were worshipped, right? They were worshipped by the dragon cult, and probably some people outside of the cult too, because they were golden. And Godric thought of himself the Lord of all is golden. He was supposed to be ruling instead of Morgoth and stuff like that. He was thinking more of a higher nobility term, kindred spirit type thing, I would say. But you're probably also right too. Like me comparing themselves to lions. Like men compare themselves to lions. Exactly. Good job, Nossel. Thank you. Meta says, oh, he's talking to Cayman. Sweet. Sorry, man. Edgelords or Game of Thrones. Sorry, not men. Edgelords and Game of Thrones characters. Yes. Dirt says, could it be possible that the OG dragons were pure stone, but as time passed and we got to the drakes, maybe that's the becoming more alive and crucible touched? All right, so just as time passed. Okay, so they started off as stone, and as the crucible, they came in contact with the crucible, they became more fleshy, you could say. You know what? That's a good idea. I had never thought about that, Durit. I don't know how to say your name, bro. Anyways, that is really a fascinating idea, and if you ever do explore that, I would love to hear that explored. Love. Cayman says there's this idea in D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, I think, where the dragons were in charge. They were basically undefeatable. What happened is some elves cast a big spell that made it so dragons couldn't think straight and do teamwork. Huh. That's an, so the dragons were kind of like humanity at the Tower of Babel, and the elves was God, and they're like, oh, let's confound them and make them. That's funny. Interesting. Anyways, back to Fair and Missoula. So I was thinking about making a video this morning when I woke up, right? To make it a video talking about how I don't think, Fair Missoula is outside of time, but I've discussed it over the stream too many times. So I was like, nah, let's not do that video. So yeah, I'm not going to do that video. But we're going to go back to Fair Missoula because there is a lot of things here that tell us about the past and I believe the culture before men took over. Dragon Temple, Dragon Temple. To Durant's point, the Onyx Lords are stone and the Newman are suggested to be just the spirits inside the body. Okay, I understand where you get the idea that the Onyx Lords and the Alabaster Lords are stone, but where do you get the idea that the Newmen are just? Where do you see the suggestion? Let me say that the Newmans are just spirit inside the body. Because I haven't seen anything like that. I'm curious. Euron says, do you think the Ancient Dragons war ended with the meteorite hitting Fair Missoula? No, the Ancient Dragon War, the war began. Okay, so there's two wars. So the Ancient Dragon War, I assume you mean the one against the Drakes, or are you talking about the one against the Erd Tree? If you're talking about the ones against the Drake, that is still continuing. If you're talking about the one against the Erd Tree, that one ended with Godwyn being victorious. All right, no problem, man. Have a good time at work. Sucks. Yeah, this is my last Friday off also, right? My last Friday off. And so my schedule will be changing, that I will everything's going to be changing a couple days to the left. A couple days earlier. So tomorrow will be the call-in stream. So if you want to join the Discord and call in, you can. We're going to start doing those on Saturday nights. And yep. And the streaming schedule will probably stay the same. No streams on Sundays though. I think I'm going to save those nights just in case my kids want to come over. If they don't come over, I'll stream on Sundays, but otherwise, yeah. Nussel says spirits and stones being connected is quite common. Think of raw technologies and sorcery Sellen's questline. Okay, is that your perspective on the shaman being spirits? So yesterday, another thing while I wait for Nozzle to reply, in the Discord we were discussing in the voice chats. I was discussing this with Both and Rattle, or not Rattle, but Serious Moonlight. These creatures, and I believe maybe Serious Moonlight may come up with a video for these creatures. at one point. I'm not going to touch on them because I don't want to. I don't want to tread on a buddy's toes, so we're just going to walk by them. Serious Moonlight. He's serious too. Euron Greyjoy comes back and he says, "But did it end with Godwyn because Godfrey went to Fair Missoula?" Did it end with Godwyn? I believe it did. Because of there is a stone monument that says that it ended when he befriended Fortisax or something like that. Hold on, we'll double check. I'd hate to give you some wrong information. Well, I wouldn't hate to, but I would not like to. Here we go. Because hate's such a strong word. All right, here we go. And also with the idea that Godfrey went to Fair Missoula, I don't technically don't recall when that's mentioned or where or the context. But if he did, I would say that he went there before before the war broke out. Let's see. I think it's this one. The routing of the ancient dragons, Godwyn the Golden fought to the last, earning the friendship of Dread Fortisax. So that kind of alludes to the idea that, because it was Godwyn, maybe, but perhaps perhaps you could make the argument that the dragons took pity on Godwyn because let's say that his army came out here and they met the dragons, in a head-to-head battle, right? And the army of the Erdtree got decimated, completely decimated, and Godwyn was left. And because he didn't give up the fight, even when he was the last one, he was like screaming in rage. They were like, "Hey, this guy's got heart. Let's be friends. No reason for you to die, son of Queen Marika." I don't know. Let's see. Nussel says, "No, I think DNA does not exist in what? I think DNA does not exist in the lands between. So, however, gene-like information is conserved is very different to real life. Traits appear to be spirit-coded, not DNA-coded. This information could be dissolved in water, melted in a crucible, and trapped in stone." I mean, that is an interesting idea, but to say that DNA does not exist, I mean, I think, in my opinion, that's too much of a leap. Too much of a leap. There's too much. Yeah. I don't know. That's looking too deep into the game itself, I believe. Because there's no way to prove or disprove. If I say DNA exists, there's no way to disprove that because we can't take blood samples and look at them in an electron microscope to look for DNA, right? I mean, that's just there's no discussion there, really. That's like saying, it's that's like talking about the smell. What does it smell like right now? It could smell like flowers or it could smell like dookie. There's no way to tell. I don't know. I wouldn't. No, so I wouldn't get too far into thinking about DNA and stuff like that in here. That's looking too deep into the abyss, my friend. Euron says it's not explicitly stated Godfrey went there, but there is a Crucible Knight still fighting there. Oh, still fighting there, as well as Dragon Cult incantations. Okay. Okay, I can see that you could think that. In my opinion, sir, the Crucible Knights that we see everywhere in the lands between they're just basically roaming around or in search of something the Crucible Knight. I believe there's two Crucible Knights in Fair Missoula that you can find. Um, I think they travel there together, but to me that doesn't tell me that Godfrey was there. They tell me those guys traveled there, and they're looking for probably the same thing that Devonia is looking for, and it's that the source of the Crucible or whatever it is. It says. And so in their journey, they've reached that place, I believe. If not that, then they were assigned to guard that area. But I couldn't prove that either. And as for the Dragon Cult spells, the Dragon Cult spells, incantations, and stuff like that we see the Banished Knights use, well, we can safely assume that the Banished Knights were part of Godwin's, I guess, knights, or yeah, his army, his military force that got banished after his assassination for their failure, and that's why we see them banished everywhere, and that's why they have, the dragons on their helmets, and also because of their failure, that's why we also see them in the execution grounds when we fight Gaius in the DLC in the Shadowkeep. Because of their failure to save Godwin, they were probably all executed as traitors for allowing it to happen. You know what I mean? What if the meteor hitting Fair Missoula? Soleil says, what if the meteor hitting Fair Missoula predated the war against the ancient dragons, and that it was maybe a motive for the ancient dragons to invade Lindell. Wait, what if the meteor hitting Fair Missoula predated the war against the ancient dragons, and that it was maybe a motive for the ancient dragons to invade Lindell? But why would that be a motive? You know what I mean? Why would something from the sky make them attack the Erd Tree? Because they think it's from the greater will. And if they do think that, why would they think that if they have an Elden ring and they have an Elden Lord, supposedly, allegedly, that I don't know. I don't see that as being a motive. Nossel says, it does not look like they try to display evolution, not creatism. It does not look like they try to display evolution, but creatism, or at least evolution disrupted by divine intervention. Okay, interesting. I see what you're saying, Nelson. And Godfrey's final conflict led him to Caelid. I think Godfrey's final conflict led him to the mountaintop of the giants, I believe. But I could be wrong. I'd have to look it up. I'm thinking about making a Discord post about it. Hey, Nozzle, for your Discord post, I would love to read that and see where you're going with that. Because I don't. Okay. Sola says, because I don't think there is mention of Queen Marika having issues with the ancient dragons beforehand. No, I don't think there is either. That's why I believe that it was the downfall of the Dragon Communion religion is what led to the attack from the ancient dragons. Let's see. Why would they have traveled there after the meteorite strike? Oh yeah, okay. Not Dragon Communion, Dragon Cult from Lindell. Maybe I just. Okay. As a so if Dragon Communion was failing, if the adherents to the Dragon Communion found out about the horrific things that the dragons were doing, and were allowed to happen to use humans the way they were, rebelled, and they killed the dragons that we see in the churches, like we explored last night. They would attack the northern part before as a preemptive strike, I'd say, before they were drawn into it. And eventually that led to their downfall too, because, well, it says that we kind of won the war, or humanity kind of won the war, or they came to a stalemate. Because we know some, all right, so Royal says, because we know that some of them survive because we meet them in person. We do. Star calling, the spell star calling. Is that a, what is that? Is that a sorcery? Man, I'm not too up to date on these sorcery spells. I could be wrong. It's gravity spells, right? I may have missed it. I can't read. Star calling. I don't know what that is. You have to let me know, because their land was destroyed by a giant meteor. Uh, I agree. I agree with their land was destroyed by a giant meteor, but I would disagree with where you place that event. That's my only take on that one. The stone monument at the borders of Caled and Limgrave marked Godfrey's final conflict. Indeed. Oh, really? Let's see. All right, let's see what this says. Lord Godfrey, at last at the end of his campaign, his golden armies unvanquished and unbowed, yet finds grace lost, tattered and faded. Oh, I see where you're getting your information from, how you're interpreting this. So when I read this, Lord Godfrey at the last of the end of his campaign, that's one direct statement saying that he's already got nobody to fight. He's already done. It's not saying that this took a battle here. His golden army is unvanquished and unbowed, yet finds grace lost and tattered and faded. So to me, this is saying this is the pathway. Along this path, him and the Tarnish were being hounded from the lands between. So they came through this direction and most likely, found themselves, I guess, down here. So if he came, which makes kind of there was a content creator that posted a map or made a video of a map where they suggested that the Shadowlands connected here, and this was like a great lake in the center. And you know what? I would agree with that if this was all one landmass here, because Godfrey being hounded would come this way. They would make the monument here where I am now as his way going south to, I guess, this way, because these are where the ships are, right? This is where we find them all wrecked. Or do we find them? Do we find them here? No, we find them in Caled, don't we? No, they're there. Yeah. And where is it? Is that towards Caled? No, that's out that way. But I'm pretty sure we see them in the arena over here also. So perhaps the Tarnish they were escaping from every avenue they could find. Yeah, here they are too. So they were escaping from wherever they could, not just one port or one area. Interesting. You know what? I never considered that. That is a good point there. Let's see. The star callers are an enemy type. Oh, my bad. that T-pose and obsessed over meteorites. They're in Weeping Peninsula by the Wizard Tower. Oh, okay. Dragon Dragon Communion Soleil. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Uh, does stuff. We'll just call you Stuff. Stuff says Dragon Communion begins to die out. Then their home is also destroyed. Ancient dragons maybe thought, hey, we should try to focus on increasing our power in the lands between so we can rebuild. I'm sure, and that's a plausible idea. I'm sure that was part of the motives on what they did. Because in reality, people, have multiple reasons to do anything. And so when you're running a society, they would have multiple motives for any action that they do. So that would probably be one of them. You're on Greyjoy, he says. I think they left from Weeping Peninsula. I think the monument marks the end of the ancient dragon war. The one in Weeping Peninsula? Oh, or are you talking about this monument down here? Because I think this one talks about like somebody, like some champion or whatever, that champion everybody thinks that's Radagon. Let's see. Stuff says, and they do this via making a new dragon cult and befriending Godwin to back it. So so they, in your perspective, in your interpretation, they're losing power. They're like, hey, how can we regain power? Well, let's befriend Godwin. And start a dragon cult. I mean, that's possible, but I tend to disagree with that. I would disagree with that, but I'm not saying that's not possible. You could be entirely right. Chase DeWatt says, "Hey everybody, the Gold Cave in Caelid, the Gel Cave in Caelid could maybe be a connecting point on the Shadowlands. Maybe it's just the naming convention, and we see a lot of gulls in the Lands of Shadows." Shit. Chase? The Gel Cave. Well, the Evergels are spelt the same way. I mean, I would say that's pretty solid in my opinion. That's pretty solid. Kudos to you, sir. Good job, Chase. Because I would say, what if the horn scent power or whatever, their culture or their country that's in the land of shadows now was in this area, right? Because is there anywhere else that's spelled gel like that besides Evergels? That's very interesting. I would say if the horn scent, I would say, yeah, the link would be there for this to be where the horn scent were before they were moved out, somewhere in this area. Oh, and was my theory that this whole entire land is pieced together with chunks ripped out of the lands between? Okay, you know what? That would make sense because let's say this whole piece right here ripped out of Limgrave, or this part ripped out of Limgrave, right? From the river over here. Because look, there's a depression here where the land has been ripped out. Boom, 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 boom. And does that look like, wait, does that look, ooh, nope. And look at that right here. Cut right out of the land, rotate it. Cut right out of the land. Right there. Right there. Ladies and gentlemen, or just gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, anybody in the future, you've just seen that solved. Wow. Anyways, I think they left the Weeping Peninsula. I think the monument was there. The boss here is frenzied. Not sure if it connects to the lost culture. Well, A, if it's if the boss there is frenzied, is it? I mean, look where Frenzy is, right? In these woods. And not Godwin. Go check out his channel. I was talking to him a few weeks ago, and he pointed out a connection to Night Rain in here, in the Land of Shadows to the Recluse, and that this could have been the deep forest where she came from. Or over here, the deep forest that she came from. Because Recluse's downstream, Recluse's river upstream. And I was like, gee willikers. Wow. Anyways, maybe it's just no connection, but I tend to think that there is a connection there. It's a frenzied gladiator. Then yes, I would say, yeah, I would say there is a connection. Man, I think I beat this place. Yeah, I think I beat everything here. Dang, I'll have to restart. Oh, you know what? No, I was going to switch characters, but I don't have any characters over here. Interesting. Interesting. These poor bastards. I don't know. The entirety of Elden Ring, its entire story is mind-boggling. It's so crazy. You know, one thing that I always up here at Summon Village, it's right here up front, very front of the game, but there's something about it that I like deep in my soul. I believe there's something significant here besides just the whatchamacallit, the Tibia Mariner, right? Besides the, you know, the talisman that we get here. I mean, I don't know. There's something here that's telling me, man, there's something that I don't know that I'm missing that I haven't seen somebody come up with, because like there's a church and there's nothing else. There's like all this structure. But there's nothing. I don't know. I feel like there should be more to this place, and there probably is. Stuff says, does that mean there is a being that shaped the lands between out of the land of shadows? Does that mean there is a being that shaped the lands between out of the land of shadows? No. So no, it's the other way around. I believe, but if I understand what you're trying to ask, what I'm saying is that in America's power or whoever, maybe Radigan when he became a god, uh, he was like, "Can you see the cursor?" So when he became a god, he was like, "Oh, let me grab this area magically because I disagree with them completely." So, and he veils it. He just rips it out of the ground. He rips out this area too. This is why this is starting to sink over here, right? It's starting to sink because the ground is taking out. Volcano Manor, this area here. Oh god, look, Volcano Manor. What's wrong with my cursor? Volcano Manor here becomes an active volcano once again because of Bale or whatever, and it's ripped out and put over here because the same rock formation is here as it is in Volcano Manor on the outskirts. Over here, you can see it. So it's ripped out and it becomes an active volcano. You see this depression here as well. It's completely ripped out, right? And they build a bridge because now it's been ripped out by America and her problems or Radigan or whoever. And that's the way I think. Maybe perhaps that's what happened. And like here, like we have the tower here, but we have the bridge over here, but there's no connecting bridge, right? So what if this whole section is now, Altus Plateau? Altus Plateau has these same trees here. So because this was going to be one of my tree theories, saying that the trees, tell a story, not just the leaves. Because you see these trees, you see them in Altus Plateau, right? So they were connected at one time. They were the same place, and it's called Shadow Altus, right? So it's like, okay, so before it was Shadows Altus, it was just Altus Plateau, and it's just all ripped out, like whole sections. Because also, like, I don't know, it's that's just the way I see it, and it makes sense to me. I just don't know how to say it correctly. Could it be that Radagon did and not America? Does that? Oh, yeah. I think Radagon is the main culprit in once the Golden Order begins. Once he becomes Elden Lord, I think he becomes the main villain. He usurps America. He most likely he murdered America and merged himself with the mimic tier or silver mimic and became the genuine article, and that's what we see in the end of the game. We see him as America because he is America at that point. And why the real America is her carcass or her husk is left empty. And so when we kill Radigan, and the Elden Beast / Elden Ring is, I guess, barely alive and looking for a home to go back into, he goes back into the husk of America, and that's when we apply the mending ring, or we break the Elden Ring completely, with Ranny or whatever. The DLC region fits pretty perfectly in the Central Ocean. I would definitely disagree with that completely. Metafactual. Yeah, yeah. You would have to. I've seen lots of people's interpretations of rescaling, resizing, adjusting it, and things like that. Mm. If there was going to be anything, if anything, that was going to be in the center, it would just be this piece, only because of the suppressing pillar. This might be the original piece, and then like Godric the grafted, the rest of the land is grafted onto that island. And that's why you have so many different environments, because it's just thrown together, piecemealed together around that island. And that's why this place looks very similar to uh to Godric. His arms that stick up on his shoulders and stuff like that. His itty bitty head and stuff like things like that. I don't know. This is just my interpretation. Because this would be like Liurnia over here, over here, over here. America was powerful enough to separate huge land formations like that. Why not? She was a god, right? Right. I mean, is it easier to believe that she removed a whole continent or pieces of a continent? Let me ask you that. Euron Greyjoy asks or says, forgot to mention that there's death root in Farum Azula. Does that mean that the meteorite hit after the death of Godwin? Yes, I have a video on that. It's called the Spirals Timeline of Farum Azula. In that video, I argue that Farum Azula was connected to the land here, right here, because if you do ballistics debris of all the points of debris from Farum Azula, it must have been situated here. The meteor came from this direction. And the only reason I suspect that is because I took a screenshot of the lands between, and then I put red marks at every place that I found debris. And then I uploaded it into, ChatGPT and told them, hey, do a ballistics analysis on this, on these points. If something was hit by a meteor, or if a city was hit by a meteor and you had rubble scattered out in this pattern, where would the city allegedly be? And it said somewhere around here. So in perhaps in reality, it was, over here, because we had the waterfall. Perhaps, and I'm not saying that, FromSoft was like, okay, we're gonna make a city. Let's calculate where we're gonna put this stuff. Where's the debris gonna land? How far away? No, I don't think they did that. But so part of me wants to say it's here because we have the fall of the ocean here, this waterfall. So this tells me that this sea level here is higher than this sea level here. So this sea level here is deeper than the rest. So that means there's a hole there and probably a meteorite, or where the missing land is where Farum Azula once was. If that makes sense. To me, it makes sense. Let's see. America had the Elden Ring, which controls reality, so she probably could. Yeah, maybe. You're on. Yeah. I mean, how much control? I don't know. I'm really iffy about the power of the Elden Ring. I know it's powerful, but how powerful is it? I mean, apparently it's very powerful. It shapes reality. You can move continents, or you can move, pieces of continents. And so, is it like what's that term? Deus Ex Machina to Elden Ring, just that whenever you need a solution that you've written yourself into a corner, Elden Ring time. You know what I mean? It's probably that. Yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I mean. That's what she did, in my opinion. Because in my opinion, that explains why the Land of Shadows has so much verticality. Is because it's just laid on top of each other, junk on top of junk. You have the very bottom, which are probably the first areas that she threw down in here, right? And then trash on top, on top, on top, on top, on top. And that's why it's so vertical. It and I know that you could probably say it's just gameplay, experimental stuff. Sure. But let's did did Miyazaki and FromSoft say, "Hey, blah 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 blah," or were they thinking about that when they were designing the level? Well, let's have a reason. Nah, I don't know. But in my mind, I tend to think that I would say that I hope that that's what they did. Is it true? Probably not. Stuff says, did America truly become a true god though, or did she just or did she just control the Elden Ring? Because after Miquella became one, they look nothing alike. Okay, so I think America is a god in quotes. My fingers are quoting only in title alone. Um, from what I understand, I interpret in the DLC, if you become the vessel or the god of the Elden Ring, you basically become a husk. You're trapped. You're not in control of the Elden Ring anymore. You know, you're just a pot with a power inside of it. That's why stuff. This is why you need an Elden Lord, because a pot can't pour itself. It can't pour the power out. This is why Elden Lords are so important. This is why she needed Godfrey. This is why she needed Radigan, right? Because she can't do it by herself. She can't control the Elden Ring. She needs the Elden Lord to control her. So she's a puppet to both the Elden Ring and to the Elden Lord. She's just becomes a tool. And that's the prison that you can't escape. And that's the tragedy of it all. And that's why it's so important to have an Elden Lord. Interesting. The frenzy ends up at the bottom of the Shadowlands, just as frenzy does in the lands between, because it's the most dangerous thing to reality itself. So it's got to be the first to go. Did America discard every part of her very being to become a god? No, I would say no. I would say that the way we see Mikla become a god is different from the way we see America. Is different from what we know America became a god. And in a sense, the story tells us there's multiple ways to become a god. There's different routes to it, and then there's probably different levels. America technically isn't a god. She's just a vessel, a vision's vessel. You know what I'm saying? She's always called the vessel, right? Does Mikla also become a god of the greater will, or is he tapping into something himself? I would say during um, he's a self-actualized god. He becomes something else for some. I'm not sure if he's associated with an outer god itself or not, but I would say it's a different. If there was going to be an outer god, I would say it was different from the greater will, and if not that, he became his own entity. So, as the bearer of the Elden Ring, you become a vessel that cannot do anything with itself. Correct, correct, correct stuff. That's why the game. That's why the fingers. That's why the fingers push a tarnish to become an Elden Lord so much, because it's just unused power just sitting there. And why don't one of the fingers become a god or become an Elden Lord? I have no idea. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why push a tarnish somebody who you don't know is in line with your way of thinking? Why not just make a two finger an Elden Lord? What? Exactly. Why? Because you know the two fingers, they're all in line. They're all on the same side. Why have an outside source, an outside third party become the ruler of the power that you're trying to control? That doesn't make any sense. And also another reason, another thing that uh to show that the person with the power of the Elden Ring can't control it themselves is because if Radigan is Elden Lord, right? And if you believe Radigan is America, then why are we needing an Elden Lord? Why isn't he just Elden Lord? Why isn't he working for the greater will? Why isn't he ruling instead of Morgoth? Because if you have the Elden Ring inside you, you are just the cup. You're just the vessel. He can't do it himself. And with that, and then with what Mikla did, when you become a god, you also become a vessel, but without love or something within the vessel. Hmm. I believe. Let's see. With what Mikla did, you become a god, but you also be. Okay, so no, because Mikla doesn't have the Elden Ring, so he's not a vessel, right? He's just somebody who stripped away all compassion, right? He stripped away, I guess, his humanity in thinking that it would make him a god. Hey, welcome back, Jack. How you doing, man? Yo, G, can you help me with something? Check the message I dropped in your Discord. I need help seeing if others can see a specific player message in Ansel River. Okay. Let me open up Discord real quick. Radagon is America, not Elden Lord. Radagon is Elden Lord. He's both if you believe that he's America. Let me see. Open up Discord. All right. Let me go there. Okay. Need people to check to see if Mr. Pearson came. Are you? Is that message on PlayStation? I guess it is on PlayStation. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Let me go check. Let me go check. Let me see. Where is it? Need people to check the message. That's from behind the left. Okay, I'm heading there now. Let's go help out Jack. Oh, Jack. Heading that way, man. Bum, bum, bum. We're on a mission. A mimic mission. All right. No problem, man. Anytime. Anytime. All right. The left one. I hope left from this direction. Oh, shit. Hold on. Let me kill this guy real quick. And then I think there's an item I can use to make. Oops, wrong way. What what is the item? There's an item that you can use to make things appear more. Right? Jesus. As of right now, Jack, I don't see it, but let me clear this up. Any other these bums? All right, they're not coming yet. I'm on PC, and at the moment, it is not there. Jesus Christ. Was this a trap? Plotting on me? Yeah, so far testing is no one on PC uses this has seen. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that sucks. That means, well, that sucks. That sucks that you can't even like cross message each other on platforms. It's completely everything's completely isolated per platform, which is horrible. Oh, thank you, Buff, or thank you, Stuff. Stuff's gonna check it out. Oh, a mimic. Well, that's good because I was gonna switch over to PS Remote Play, but now I don't have to. Thank you, Stuff. I appreciate it. I thought there was an item that increased the amount of whatchamacallits. I'm pretty sure there wasn't. Isn't there? Or maybe that's a different thing. No. It's Tonner's tongue. Consoles are just PC mimic. That's funny. Scriptstone? Scriptstone? Where is that? Okay, is that what it's called? Is that a what is that? Soap. Is that a crafting item? Oh shit, I gotta get rid of this. Jack says, thank you. One of my crazy theories is that some players' messages are actually secret uh, dev messages because a few of them are weird. You know what? I've thought about that a long time, and I thought they were. I thought a lot of them were dev messages. All right, I found the script stone, or I made one. Let's use it. There it is, script stone. All right, I'm going to use a script stone. Let's see if anything pops up. The Radagon is a mimic, and others something with Roger. We need to think what armor Miyazaki would use. What armor would Miyazaki use? I think Miyazaki's pure strength build. So probably some heavy high poise armor. Because he says he's not good at video games or something like that. So, and you know, and people who are not good at video games tend to lean towards that type of build. Jack says no, that some that feel like theory bait, but nothing I've seen anyone else theorize. Hmm. I wasn't that confirmed about the devs leaving notes in like Dark Souls 3 or something like that in the Dark Souls series? But I don't know if that transferred over here. But it's interesting though. Like a message in front of the spirit eels in DLC saying likely fingers that blew my. Oh wow, okay, I see where you're going with it. Wow, okay. You know what? If you can come up with a really good theory for that, that'd be amazing. That would be hilarious. I would love that. That would be the most meta shit. I love that, dude. Yeah, I don't see anything here on PC either, man. Oh, is this the item? Wait, let me double check. No. Wait, no. It's somebody else. I'm gonna hit good just in case. No, because yours is in the water. There is a similar message here though. It says item ahead, but it's up there. Jack says in Dark Souls 1, you had to use the guidance spell to use dev messages. Oh, but I can't confirm if the messages I'm finding are confirmation bias or legit. I mean, it's very close. It's very close. Oh, you think so? Well, I'm glad I could help. Get the item? Okay. Oh. How do you get over there? You gotta jump? Dang, I'm not good at jumping. I got bad knees. All right, we're gonna try it. We're gonna try it though. Oh, you know what? Let me jump. Oh. I summon torrent? No. How do you get over there? Oh, good grief. Is this a puzzle? Wait, can you just jump across over here like this? Yeah. Dang it. Thinking too hard. Golden centipede. So a golden whatchamacallit? Fundamentalism hunter was here. Golden Order hunter. Poor Nostal. Bum bum bum. Hmm. So does that mean like D came down here? The one of the brothers? What I don't I forget the names. He traversed down here, or was it another hunter. You're not crazy. No, man, you're not crazy, bro. You're a smart guy. Smart guy. Crazy for living this game like all of us. I have matchmaking on. I do. Right? Yeah. Oh, this guy. He doesn't even think about the hunters, bro. That's crazy. The hunters are like a fundamental part, fundamental part, mental part of the Golden Order, um, zealotness or whatever. That's crazy. No problem, man. Anytime. I look forward to more of your stuff. Bum bum bum. All right, here we go. What time is it? What time is it? All right, let's go for 3 more minutes. What can we get in 3 minutes? What can we get in 3 minutes? Where can we? The Grand Cloister. The cloister. Has it already been 2 hours? Damn, no, no, no. 20 more minutes. 24 minutes. We'll go for 2 hours. 20 more minutes. All right, let's see. The Grand Cloister. This is ancient dynastic. Even down here. Even down here. Mm-hmm. So how many of y'all believe that the Elden Earth is hollow, like completely hollow? There was this book series that I read from it was a Russian author. He had this idea that there was this place called it was a fantasy novel. It's pretty dark. I forget. Oh, man, I have the book. I just don't feel like going to pick it up. Um, well, he had this idea where the world that he wrote, there was this palace called the Palace of the Dead, and the Palace of the Dead was so deep and so old that nobody knows who built it, and it's only been built upon, up and up, and there's like these almost infinite amount of levels and civilizations that have built and buried their dead on there. What if what if Elden Earth was like that? It every layer we go down into, there's a different civilization that's been built upon, covered over, and things like that. I Man, I'm starting to think that's what the case is. Especially with the Forsaken Hollows DLC for Night Rain. Oh, what's this? Yikes, these guys hit hard. Ye old bums. Oh, he dodged it. Lucky bum. Pizza time. That's basically Chalice Dungeon from Bloodborne. Is that what that is? I never played blood blah blah. I never played Bloodborne. Slope. Kind of. I couldn't get into it, man. Couldn't get into it. And it just goes down forever? Oh, damn. Really? That sounds cool. That sounds real cool. At one time, because they randomly generate made by ancient civilizations. Huh. Could Bloodborne be the future of Elden Ring? You know what I mean? So far in the future. Wouldn't that be cool? It would kind of be like, you know how the Final Fantasy series, they took Ivalice, the Chronicles of Ivalice, from like Final Fantasy Tactics being like uh the distant future of Final Fantasy 12, and 12 being like this uh kind of civilized, technologically advanced civilization, and Final Fantasy Tactics like being at the in the future, like post a dark age. People like to say it was future of Dark Souls because Aldrich saw a future age of deep waters. Of deep waters. Oh shit! What if that's Night Rain? Because Night Rain's all water, right? Where, what's like Marius? He comes and turns everything to water wherever he inhabits. Yeah, like the what's that? Praetorians? The I don't know what that word is. Stuff, man. How they torture me so. um. Let's see. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. Another thing that I like, that I think is cool about Elden Ring, and is I don't think a lot of people talk about it, and I think I'm not saying that we should, but in my opinion, I think we should. Is talking about how Elden Ring, the Erdtree civilization, was like on the verge of like having a an industrial revolution like the Americas had, or humanity had back in the what mid 18 to early 1900s. Um, because because we have these machines here, and they have like they're like steam contractions. You see like steamboats, stuff like that, and uh, let's see, canisters, valves, piping, blow off valves, and stuff like that, right? And there's the so they had that technology was starting to develop or was developing, and it had gotten pretty far because we see those contraptions, still working to this day. But we also another thing that I like also, and I love to read at it, and I've told everybody in the Discord before, um, is the where's that gun? This one, the jar cannon, and I think it's hilarious. It's item description: experimental firearm brought to the assault on Volcano Manor, where it was discovered that no one knew how to use it. I I I love that item description. It is my favorite out of everything. They were still so it was so far advanced at for these medieval mind people, for these primitive humans to understand what they were looking at, right? And then you have, Rabath's cannon, right? The power of the glintstone, the encircled barrel imbues bolts with magic damage and guides the shots towards the target. So you see, that one's more of a carrying one, and it doesn't have the same. It doesn't have the same appeal lore. It's just like, hey, this is the bone bow. This is the magical version of a non magical technical thing. So this is like for the layman's, and it's just I don't know, man. I think it's a great thing. That there was two schools of thoughts. There was the scientific thought, and then there was like the magical thing, and they were like racing, kind of like a Cold War, but the magical one because apparently the medieval mind is just too dumb, too dumb to figure it out, or perhaps the person or it was lost in the war and everybody died anyways, or perhaps most likely society collapsed just before it really took off, which is quite tragic too at the same time. Imagine society collapsing in like 1832 or or in 1832 1875, just as things were starting to get rolled out. Final Fantasy 12 story was trash. Lore setting and localization was cool, but the character sucked. What? Slow, bro. Slow. The story? I think the story was okay. Wait. I guess I have to agree with you because I don't know what the story is for 12 anymore. Shit. I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right, bro. It was trash. I can't remember what it was. All I remember is what I said, that it would take place thousands of years before tactics. The Putarians are the people of the ancient civilization in Bloodborne, by the way. Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you, man, for letting me know stuff. Venture Lord 32. Hey, how's it going? The pulley bow reminds me of Da Vinci and how he designed modern ideas before they could properly be implemented. Yes, dude. Yes. Hold on. I don't have that bow, but I think that's also a cool thing too. Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't have to pull it out. But yeah, it's quite fascinating that FromSoft took the time to add this little detail into the world, right? Because look, you have like two canisters here, you have the valves, and it's just I always thought it was amazing when I first saw this, and I'm like, man, they could have had cars with probably within, I don't know, 50 years of these, they could have had cars, man, instead of using horses, Because if they're already riding around in this, imagine somebody at the Capitol being like, "Hey, man, why just have one seat when you could put four?" Dun dun dun. And they're like, "Hey, why have guns on it when you can make it more aerodynamic and faster?" And then you got a Camaro. Man, we're right there. So if anything, if they do make an Elden Ring 2, and they probably will, I think it'll be set in the future. A more technology esque, probably a steampunk Victorian age Bloodborne 2. You know, a spiritual successor to Bloodborne 2. I'll say that. Oh, man, what a bum. What's in here? Oh, nothing. Already picked it up. He did. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the most one of the most intriguing things for me. You know, because another thing that makes it really advanced also, right, is that they're also using chemicals because we see the two canisters, and that takes a very, I don't know, a high level of intelligence to realize that we need to contain these two gases. We need to compress these two gases, put them in here, have feed valves, and then light it on fire to make the fire. That's really advanced. That's really advanced for a medieval society. Maybe someday somebody will make like technology of the lands between video. I think somebody should. I think that'd be a really interesting thing, because with the advancement, the cannons and stickered labels that we see in Mindra's Manse, that's pretty advanced. They were on the cusp of being 1920s, human civilization, and then they failed. Then they had the Shattering War. All right, so let's see. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's good. I think I'm gonna call it there. 5 minutes shy. Unless anybody has any questions or wants to go see something real quick. Uh, yeah, it's Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Uh, hey, oh, announcements though. Announcements real quick. Uh, let's see. So Jackie's Amendment came out with his videos Friday. He came out with it. Make sure you check that. Check out Scum Mage's video on his stolen identity thing about the AI from China. That's really interesting and interesting video. Another one is check out Serious Moonlight and Not Godwin. They have some really good videos on their stuff. I know Serious Moonlight and Not Godwin are also working on some new stuff too. That should be out first half of 26. Let's see. And there is a buddy of mine, Jackal. Let's see. He streams on Twitch. I don't know, sure if anybody watches Twitch anymore. That place is pretty dead in the water nowadays. I'm playing. I have no idea. Let's see. I think, let's see. Where is, I forget what Jackal's channel's called. It's something, sunset, some sunset Jackal _ Jackal, I think. Man, I really want to give him a proper shout out because he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. Let's see. Let's see. Dun dun dun. Let's see. Yeah, Sunstorm _ Jackal. That's his he's gonna be streaming tonight, I think around 7:30ish. Right there. Sunstorm _ Jackal. Check him out. Show him some love, please. He's a good guy. And yeah, we'll call it there, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all have a great weekend. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We're gonna have the call-in show. If you want to call in, join the Discord. There should be a link for the Discord in the show notes. And yeah, let's discuss more Elden Ring tomorrow. More Elden Ring, always more. Tomorrow, yeah. Let me see. Let me get a link for the Discord. And I'll put it in the chat just in case future viewers don't see it. Boom. There you go. And yeah, I'll see y'all. I'll be in the Discord all day and tomorrow. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all be safe. Be careful. Peace, love, and chicken grease.